So, with the NBA playing games and playoffs coming up in about 2 weeks, I wanted to talk about the current state of the NBA because I'm a huge NBA fan and I'm sure most of you guys are too. So, one of the biggest storylines coming out of this past week is the return of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They both have not looked the same since their return as we're used to seeing them. LeBron has not returned to 100% from his ankle injury, and Anthony Davis cannot find his rhythm on offense, and Drummond just seems to be taking up too much space, and AD doesn't seem to work when Drummond is on the floor. Now, the Lakers currently sit in the 7th seed in the West, tied with the Mavericks and the Blazers, and with the tiebreaker right now, they sit in the first play-in spot, which they want to avoid really badly because then they will have to play a team like the Grizzlies, Warriors, Spurs, or Pelicans, which definitely is not an easy matchup in the first round. The Lakers will have to pick it up towards the end of the season, and they really have to find their rhythm if they want to avoid this playing game. LeBron voiced his opinion about the playing game and said that whoever came up with it needs to be fired. Last year, he was supporting it. I want to give some context, though. Back in 2018, LeBron actually said that he would not want for there to ever be a playing game when it was a topic of discussion back then. But then last year, because it was a COVID season and a totally different situation, the season was cut short, he said that a play-in tournament was necessary. So it's kind of two different scenarios, so you can't really compare the two, where one time he said that it was a good idea and one time he said it wasn't. But I feel like a lot of people are blowing this way out of proportion. Obviously, when you're sitting in the 6 through 8 seed or 5 through 8 seed, you're not going to think that the play-in tournament is a really good idea because you feel like you have a locked-in spot in the playoffs. And in the Lakers' case, they know that they are much better than what their record says. So they don't feel that it's fair that they have to play in a playing game. And I don't agree with them. I think the playing game is a good addition, but because this season is shortened by 10 games and teams have had to deal with COVID and other injuries because of the shortened offseason, the Lakers have had to deal with that too. So, the Lakers are fortunate that they're sitting in the 7th seed with LeBron and AD being out for the extended period of time that they were out. The Lakers, realistically, with that many injuries, should be sitting in the 8 through 10 seed, and then they'd be thankful for the playing game. But while they're sitting in the 7th seed, tied with the Blazers and the Mavericks, they are in the playing game right now. So let's actually talk about the Mavericks, the Blazers, the Grizzlies, and the Warriors, the other teams in the hunt for the playing game that are not named the LA Lakers. The Mavericks, I believe, will lock in a playoff spot. I believe the Lakers will slide ahead of the Blazers and gain the 6th seed before the playoffs, and the Blazers will end up being the 7th seed in the NBA playoffs and therefore have to play either the Warriors, Spurs, or Pelicans in the first play-in game. And for any team playing in the NBA playoffs, you certainly do not want to play the Warriors in that play-in game because if Steph Curry gets hot one game, it could end your whole season. So if you're a Blazers fan or a Mavericks fan, you are trying desperately to avoid playing Steph Curry in that playing game. If you're the 7th seed, I don't think you'll have to play him because you will probably have to play the Spurs or the Pelicans. But if you fall down to the 8th seed, which the Mavericks or Blazers most likely won't, the Grizzlies will maybe be in that 8th seed. So, it's a whole tough situation out west. Mavericks, Blazers, Lakers, all fighting to not be in that 7th seed. And then the Grizzlies, Warriors, Spurs, Pelicans, and even Kings are fighting for that final play-in spot to get into the NBA playoffs. So when we head over to the Eastern Conference, we have the Sixers sitting in the 1 seed, the Nets in the 2 seed, the Bucks in the 3 seed, and then after that, it's really close. The Knicks are the 4 seed, the Hawks are the 5 seed, the Heat are the 6 seed, and the Celtics are the 7 seed. And all those teams are within 1.5 games of each other. And then there's not a significant drop-off, but a bigger drop-off for the 2.5 game drop-off between the Hornets and the Celtics for the 7th and 8th seed. And then the 9th and 10th seeds are the Pacers and the Wizards, with the Raptors and Bulls sitting right behind them. So I think that the play-in games, the teams that will be in it in the East, are pretty much set. We have the Celtics, the Hornets, Pacers, and Wizards are the 8, 9, and 10 seed. I think those three teams will definitely be in it. And then the Hawks, Heat, and Celtics will most likely get that final spot of the play-in. I think it'll be the Celtics for now because they're a game behind the other teams. I don't think the Knicks will end up being in that play-in spot just because they are 1.5 games above the next closest team. And the Knicks have been playing some amazing basketball. And I think they will lock in that 4 or 5 seed and have to play either the Hawks or the Heat in the first round. The Celtics just had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum go down last night. They collided with each other, going for a loose ball, and Jaylen Brown had to be carried off the floor while Tatum walked off on his own power. If the Celtics lose both of those guys, that'll be a tough break for them, as they need both of them for this playoff push, and they need them before the playoffs start so they can avoid that play-in game that the 7 seed or 6 seed or 5 seed definitely does not want to be in. Now for the bottom half of the East, looking at the Wizards and Pacers and Hornets. The Wizards are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. They're 29 and 35, sitting 1.5 games behind the Pacers and 2 games behind the Hornets. I believe the Wizards will definitely slide above the Pacers for that 9 seed, and they will have to play the 8 seed Hornets. No, actually, they will not play the 8 seed Hornets. The Hornets will play the 7 seed, which will be the Hawks, Heat, or Celtics, in my opinion. And then the Wizards will most likely have to play the Pacers, no matter what seed they are, either the 9 or the 10. That could be interchangeable because the 9 plays the 10 and the 7 plays the 8. So if you're not sure how the play-in game works, basically the 7 seed plays the 8 seed, the 9 seed plays the 10 seed. The winner of the 7-8 game moves on to the playoffs. They are the 7 seed. The loser of the 7-8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game. The loser of the 9-10 game is out. So the winner of the 9-10 game plays the loser of the 7-8 game, and then the team that wins that game is the 8 seed in the playoffs. So I kind of like the format. I think this play-in game will stick for years to come, but they're gonna have to make it. They're gonna have to make some changes. Like if a team is say the 10 seed is 5 games behind the 9 seed, the 10 seed should not have a chance to be in a play-in game, because in basketball, one game does not, in football, one game, they have to do a one-game playoff because it wears out the players. But in basketball, you can't have one game to decide a whole season, so it's not fair if a 10 seed who's 5 games behind the 9 seed gets into the play-in game. They have to moderate that, I guess, or modify the play-in game. Maybe if a team is 4 games or more behind the 9 seed, then they cannot be in the play-in game. Something like that, just to make it a little more fair, so a team's hard work in the regular season does not go unnoticed, and the 10 seed does not have a shot to just have one amazing game and then move on against the 9 seed who finished 5 games ahead of them. So those are just some changes I think that need to be made to the play-in game. And now just looking at the top half of the East, the top 3 teams, the Sixers, Nets, and Bucks. They're all within 3 games of each other. The Sixers currently hold the 1 seed with the Nets half a game back and the Bucks 3 games back. The Bucks just beat the Nets last night. Not last night, on Sunday night. I don't know when this video is going out, but on Sunday night, they beat the Nets behind Giannis's 49 points and his nice block on KD at the end of the game and his dunk on him on the first play of the game. So Giannis had a great night, an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year night. The Nets and the Bucks will square off again on Tuesday night, so I'm not sure when this video is coming out, so it might come out after you guys know the winner of that game, but that is a huge game because the Nets and the Bucks are sitting in the 2 and 3 seed, so that could close the gap between the two in the conference. So that's kind of how the East shapes up. Going back to the West, I didn't discuss the top half, the top 4 teams. So the Suns and Jazz are tied for the 1 seed as of right now. I'm talking on Monday night. So this is as of Monday night, May 3rd. Yep, May 3rd. The Suns and the Jazz are tied for first. The Nuggets without Jamal Murray are hot, and they're still in third. They're on a 5-game win streak. And the Clippers on a 3-game losing streak are in fourth, half a game behind the Denver Nuggets, who they just lost to. So in this Western Conference, I feel bad for whatever team is going to have to play the Lakers in the first round, because one team will definitely have to play the Lakers. The best case scenario for one of those teams is if the Lakers do make the play-in game and they are worn out. So, for example, if the Lakers get the 7 seed and then win the play-in, they would have to play the Jazz as of right now. So that's a pretty good case scenario for the Jazz. But if the Lakers do get the 5 or 6 seed, then they will have to be playing either the Nuggets or the Clippers, and that'll be a tough matchup for both of them. I think the worst case scenario for any of these top half West teams is the position the Nuggets are in right now, because the 6 seed seems like the most likely position the Lakers will get, and the 3 seed seems like the most likely position the Nuggets will get, and the Nuggets will have to play the Lakers without the Lakers coming off of a playing game, so they'll be fully rested, hopefully fully healthy by the time, with LeBron and AD back to 100% or at least close, somewhere around 80, 90%. I know LeBron said that he will never return to 100%. Part of me thinks that's kind of BS, but, he's LeBron. He always finds a way. 100% or not, he will find a way to get it done. So we have an interesting situation in the NBA right now. About 10 to 11 teams through each conference this year have a chance to make the playoffs, which is different from what we've seen from other years. So I kind of like this new competitive feel that it brings. We see teams like the Wizards, Pacers, Hornets, Spurs, Pelicans, Warriors still going full out all night because they know that they have a chance to get into that playing game and then eventually make the playoffs if they steal a couple games from a team like the Grizzlies, Lakers, or Celtics. So it'll be a very, very, very interesting situation. And these playoffs, in my opinion, are going to be some of the best in a couple of years because the competitiveness is going to be next level, especially in the Western Conference, I think, especially with the Lakers being in the bottom half of the playoffs. I think that it'll make the playoffs so much more competitive because teams know that if the Lakers do get out or if they do have to play the Lakers, they will just have to go that much harder. So a Lakers first-round matchup, if they beat the Nuggets, the Clippers, Jazz, and Suns win, we could still have the 4 best teams remaining, even though the Lakers were the lower seed as the 7 or 6 seed. So it's a great situation. I kind of like this playing game. I know that a lot of players don't. I have mixed feelings about it, and LeBron is kind of right. In a sense, if there weren't 10 less games and they just added a play-in out of nowhere, then yes, it wouldn't make sense and he would be right. But there are 10 less games. Teams have been dealing with COVID. They have been dealing with injuries because of the shorter offseason. So it is fair to have this playing game. And I think that the NBA will realize that it is actually a pretty good addition and they will stick with it for years to come. So that's all I have today. Just a bit of a rundown through the NBA standings and basically what's happening in the playoff picture. We didn't really go through any big NBA news or big NBA performances or any single games. We'll have that in future episodes, and during the playoffs and playing games, we definitely will have that. I'll do a recap weekly, hopefully, or maybe twice a week. We'll see how well and eventful the playoffs go. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with the next episode.